The setup is simple, which is usually a very good sign for this kind of film. A couple ends up caught in the aftermath of a deadly roadside incident, and instead of just dealing with shock, they realize they have picked up something far worse. Not a person, not a killer hiding in the back seat. Something older, stranger, and apparently impossible to escape. The trailer frames it like a curse, a pursuit, and a spiritual infection all at once. And honestly, that combination works on me immediately. The first thing the trailer does right is mood. It opens with a statistic designed to make the ordinary feel suddenly unsafe. Millions of people take road trips, and thousands are never seen again. That is exactly the kind of line that instantly changes the temperature. It tells me Passenger is not trying to be cozy supernatural horror. It wants the road itself to feel hostile. The night becomes bigger. Every stop feels wrong. Every lonely patch of highway starts looking like a trap. Then the trailer hits with a genuinely effective image. A car pulls over, a passenger steps out into the dark, and somewhere in the woods a horn starts blaring. That alone is already unsettling because it feels like a signal rather than random noise. And before the audience can settle into that discomfort, a corpse crashes through the windshield. It is a brutal trailer moment because it feels sudden, physical, and malicious. Not just a jump scare, but a declaration. This thing is here, and it does not follow rules. From there, Passenger starts looking less like a standard haunted road movie and more like a cursed thriller with demonic energy. Strange figures appear on the roadside. A screaming woman suddenly shows up in the passenger seat. Claw marks appear on vehicles. Voices come through the radio. Bodies covered in white sheets fill a field like the aftermath of some ritual nobody survived. These are not random spooky images. They suggest a mythology. And that is the key thing that keeps me interested. Melissa Leo's character seems to be the one carrying the awful knowledge. When she asks, "You didn't stop, did you?" and follows it with "This is something unholy," the trailer suddenly finds its spine. That line tells me the movie has rules, even if we do not know them yet. In horror, I always want that feeling that somebody understands the shape of the evil, even if they cannot fully control it. Leo looks like the person who knows exactly how doomed this situation is, which makes her instantly valuable in a movie like this. Jacob, Scipio, and Llobell appear to carry the emotional center as the couple trapped inside the nightmare. Their dynamic matters because a story like Passenger only works if I care whether these to survive. The trailer wisely does not waste time making them feel overly slick or invincible. They look shaken, overwhelmed, and very aware that they have crossed into something they do not understand. That helps. A road horror movie loses power the second the leads start feeling too cool for the terror around them. What I like here is that Passenger does not seem interested in just doing haunted car tricks for Nin. Any minutes, the supernatural force stalking them appears to spread across every part of the journey. It invades the radio, the road, the surrounding woods, abandoned spaces, and eventually even sacred ground. One of the most memorable images in the trailer shows Llobell's character lifted into the air inside a burning church. That is not subtle imagery, and it does not need to be. It says everything. This thing is not just chasing them physically. It is swallowing the spaces that should have offered protection. And then there is the title itself, Passenger. That word starts sounding more disturbing the more the trailer goes on. At first, it sounds literal, just someone riding in a car. But by the end, it feels spiritual, possession, attachment, a presence that rides with you whether you invite it or not. When Melissa Leo says nobody escapes the passenger, the movie suddenly becomes about something much bigger than a bad night on the road. It becomes about being marked. That is where André Øvredal becomes such an interesting choice. He has always had a strong instinct for mixing folklore terror with direct, physical fear. The last voyage of the Demeter had atmosphere for days, and scary stories to tell in the dark proved he knows how to translate nightmare imagery to something mainstream audiences can still grab onto. Passenger looks like it is sitting right in that sweet spot again, where the horror is cinematic, accessible, and still weird enough to feel dangerous. I can also see why Paramount picked late May for the release. This is exactly the kind of horror movie that can work as a counter-programming hit if the marketing lands. It has a simple hook, recognizable faces, a strong visual gimmick, and that curse-on-the-road concept that is easy to sell in one sentence. If audiences respond to the trailer's imagery, Passenger could absolutely become one of those lean genre movies that quietly overperform because people want something scary that is not buried in franchise mythology. That said, the movie's biggest challenge will be whether it can turn its trailer imagery into a satisfying full story. Road horror is tricky. It is easy to create dread in fragments. It is harder to build a mythology that feels scary rather than over-explained. The best-case version of Passenger gives just enough answers to make the curse feel real, but not so many that it shrinks the fear. If the movie understands a balance, it could hit hard. Still, I think the ingredients are here. Melissa Leo gives the whole thing weight immediately. Jacob Scipio has the kind of grounded intensity that works well in panic-heavy thrillers. Llobell, especially after Foundation, brings a thoughtful presence that could make the supernatural side land harder. And visually, the trailer already has images that stick in my head in the exact way a horror trailer should. What also helps is that Passenger feels mean in the right way. Not empty, not cynical, just cruel enough to suggest the movie is willing to hurt its characters and deny them easy exits. Horror lives and dies by consequences. If the road is cursed, if the passenger really cannot be escaped, then the film has to make that idea hurt. The trailer suggests it understands that. Nobody in this footage looks like they are about to outsmart the darkness with a one-liner. They look trapped, and that is probably the strongest compliment I can give this trailer. It makes entrapment feel huge. A road should mean movement, freedom, possibility. Passenger flips that completely. Here, the road feels like fate. Every mile becomes another step deeper into something cursed. Every stop feels like bait. Every sound on the radio feels like a message from somewhere it should not be possible to transmit from. If the full movie can maintain that pressure, it has a real shot at sticking with horror fans. The summer release window is already crowded with genre titles, but a film does not need to be the biggest horror release of the year to matter. Sometimes it just needs one killer hook, a few unforgettable images, and enough dread to make people think twice the next time they pull over on a dark road. Passenger may be exactly that kind of movie.